been a rough day for Brian Moynihan. At Bank of America's annual meeting today, the CEO faced unhappy shareholders who posed some tough questions about the bank's mortgage problems. According to our Bloomberg reporters in attendance, Moynihan grew visibly impatient with the issue, and the staff wasn't very helpful at that meeting for reporters either. But if there's one person who feels Brian Moynihan's pain, it may be our next guest. Karen Weaver of Seer Capital says she's getting tired of being such a bear on housing. We'll find out now if she has any good news for us today. Or Karen, welcome to the show. Any good news for Brian Moynihan? Are there any silver linings to this cloud right now?
Well, I can offer you a snippet of good news, but I warn you, it's really only a snippet, which is the fact that in many markets, when you look at it on a rent versus buy basis, which is, reasonable, that's obviously a substitute good to rent instead of buy a home, or when you look at it on an affordability basis, how much of your income does it take to buy the median home? A lot of markets are reasonably priced, fairly priced. Some appear a little bit underpriced. So using those two metrics, that's good news. So it's better than a few years ago when not only did we have all the problems, we also looked at it and said, by any measure, home prices are wildly overvalued. So we're not there. We just have all the other problems.
So does that mean the end of home price declines, Karen, or not necessarily?
I think almost definitely not. We're calling for a double dip in housing, meaning it's going to go below its low. I mean, we're just a 1/100th of a point away from that now.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is that, it's kind of like saying Maseratis are on sale for, 25% off. If you have too many of them, you're just not going to sell 100 million of them, no matter how cheap they might be to any metric. And right now, the problem is we have a lot of inventory on the market, a lot more inventory behind that coming, and we only have something like 400,000 people per year creating a new household. Now, normally, it's 1.4 million. So we have a deficit of 1 million people.
Why is that? Why are new household starts so low?
Household formations?
Yes.
To distinguish from starts, which is about building.
Of course.
Household formations, as you would imagine, have a very strong cyclical component. So when unemployment is high, confidence is low, people are leery of starting a household. So that means, roommates stay together. It means children don't move out of parents' households. It also means, even ironically, people don't divorce. Divorce is actually good for housing because you need 2 housing units. So all of these things suppress formations, and we're talking about a very suppressed level.
So if there's so much supply out there, and people talk about the shadow inventory and so on and so forth, Karen, so is it just we've got to wait, it's just going to take time? I bring this question up a lot, but is it just going to take a matter of years before we see some normalcy back in the housing market?
It's definitely years, and depending upon which variables you believe in, which assumptions you're making, you can plug a lot of things in. It's hard to argue less than around 2 years, year and a half. There's plausible arguments for 5 years to work through this problem. We have to keep in mind the housing market isn't like financial markets. You don't even get data other than once a month. There's some very useful data on formations and things like that you get quarterly or annually. So it's a slow-moving market.
You talk about, you'll say there's a turning point when we see more foreclosures behind us than ahead of us, and that, we may see a bottom in distressed sale prices. Suffice to say, foreclosures are very important to this whole equation. And you say that the government has a lot to do with the time between now and the bottom. Why is that?
Well, sure, of course, because the government, one of the most political things they've done here is to get involved and try to change the foreclosure process and prevent some foreclosures, slow down the foreclosure process. And I think intuitively, to a lot of people looking at the market, that can sound like a fair thing to do, just sort of call a timeout, allow people a chance to stay in their homes. The problem is it drags on things. And what you really need is for the market to get a sense that we have, as I said, less foreclosures ahead of us than we have behind us, that we've sort of gotten over the hump. And because we've delayed foreclosures, we have so many in that bucket, in that process. People don't have that feeling. There's still a lot more to come.
Karen, has something dramatically changed in the housing market? Will it be for the future? Is something different, or will we get to a point where prices go up again? People think it's a great investment, because there's also been a psychology change about housing as an investment. Has something really changed, or give it a few years and we'll get back to where we were?
Well, I think when you look at almost anything involving human behavior, it's probably good to bet on give it a few years and we'll get back to where we were. I think one of the interesting things is when you look at housing in the U.S., for the middle class, it has been really almost the only vehicle by which they've been able to accumulate wealth.
Right.
Certainly the most
Right.
recent generation. And if you look forward in changes in benefit plans, people don't have defined pensions, they have 401ks. I mean, the bedrock of middle-class wealth accumulation has been housing. It's going to be hard to give that up,
All right.
even if they should.
Karen Weaver, thank you so much. We love having you on.
Pleasure
Thank
having
you so
you on.
much.
Thanks.